In this guide, we will explain how to get the chart of the homestead in details. We will also explain how to get its subcomponents, which are refined homestead metal and then wood and fiber. All of these items are going to be needed for tons of decorations, but more important, they will also be needed for the new legendary spear. And at the end of the guide, I will give you some tips that will reduce the cost of these items, and I will even show you how you can make some gold from them. We will start with the refined homestead fiber. You can buy this item by interacting with the Homestead Refinement farm, which acts as a vendor, and you will find it right beside the stable where you have all your mounts. In the first tab, you can convert a lot of plant materials into the refined homestead fiber. When you click on any of these options, you will see below how many do you have of each. And whatever number will show down here, this will be from your material storage and your bank and the inventory of the character you are currently on. As you can see, each option will have a different exchange rate. However, you can see in yellow a line that says you can buy 100 more per account per week. So each one of these items can only be traded 100 times per week. You can also see on the top right corner, this will be the total weekly limit. And by default, that will be 200, which means you cannot perform more than 200 exchanges per week to get the refined homestead fiber. And that can be done using any combination of any of these materials as long as you don't exceed the 100 per item limit. This weekly limit will reset with all the other weekly resets in the game, which will be Monday morning. In the second tab that says trade upgrades, from here you can buy upgrades that will make this vendor even better. The first type is called trade efficiency, and you will find two of them. Each one will reduce 50% of the cost in the first tab. That means if you have both of these upgrades, you will only pay 25% of the original cost, which of course will make this vendor much more effective and efficient. And so I will now show you an example with the lotus roots. By default, the price for exchange will be 16 lotus roots for one refined homestead fiber. I will now buy the first trade efficiency, and now it's gone and no longer an option here from the vendor. And if I look at the price, it's now half of what it used to be before. So now it's down to 8. If I buy the second tier of the upgrade, again, it's now gone from the vendor, and now the price is down to 4. And so as you can see, these upgrades will make this vendor a lot more cost effective and efficient. The second type of upgrades are called trade capacity, and as you can see, there are multiple tiers of them. These upgrades will increase this weekly limit, but it will not affect the 100 limit per item per week. So even if you bought all of these upgrades, you can still exchange only a maximum of 100 times per item. The green tier for the trade capacity upgrade, this will increase the weekly limit by 100. So pay attention to this number. Right now, by default, it will be 200. When I buy this upgrade, it will now close the window. And now, when you open it again, this limit is now 300. And then there are two rare tiers for the trade capacity upgrade. Each one of them will also increase that weekly limit by 100. The only difference will be the cost. So I will buy the first one. Again, it closed the window. And now this item is gone from here. And now my limit is up to 400. When we buy the second one, same thing, the window will close. And now when we open it again, now that's up to 500. And then there's also the exotic tier for the trade capacity upgrade. And again, there are two of them. Each will cost something different. Each one of them will increase the capacity by 150. So right now we are up to 500. If I buy this first one, now that limit is up to 650. And if I buy a second one, now we are up to 800, which is the absolute maximum of the weekly limit for this vendor. Please keep in mind that this limit applies to the amount of exchanges you can do, not the total number of refined homestead fibers. For example, because we bought the trade efficiency upgrades, you will now notice there will be some exchanges that will give you 2 refined homestead fiber instead of 1, and that will be per exchange. Our limit right now is 800, and we can exchange 1 lettuce for 2 refined homestead fibers. And so if I buy this, I now got 2 refined homestead fibers, but it only counted as 1 exchange. And so technically that means you can actually buy a lot more than 800 fibers per week. If you are going to use these items, that will give you 2 of them. The third tab is called Black Market. And from here, you can buy the refined homestead fibers directly for some gold. Every time you are going to buy this item this way, this price will go a little higher. So for example, right now we can buy 25 for 6 gold and 16 silvers. If I buy one, you will now notice that the price went up to be 6 gold, 20 silvers and 96 copper. And if I buy another one, it will go up again and so on and so on. You can only buy the refined homestead fibers this way using your gold for a total of 300 times per week. And each time, again, the price will go higher and you will get 25 refined homestead fibers. This 300 weekly limit is completely unrelated to this limit here from the first tab. As you can see, we're still at 799, even though we have done multiple exchanges from the black market tab. So the weekly limit from this tab and the weekly limit from this one are completely unrelated. The prices to buy this item and also the 300 weekly limit will also reset on Monday morning, just like the one in this tab. However, please keep in mind that buying the refined homestead fibers from the black market tab should be your absolute last resort, because if you do the math, you will find that the cost to buy them from here will be much higher than this way, and that will be even if you did not buy the trade efficiency upgrades. The other two types of refinements will work exactly the same way. You will find the Homestead Refinement lumber mill right beside the sawmill here. And from here we can buy the refined homestead wood. And you will find the Homestead Refinement metal forge vendor right in front of the cave. And from here you can get the refined homestead metal. They will both work in a very similar way to the plant fiber as we saw earlier. From here we can exchange some of our raw material ore and we can buy refined homestead metal. And from the lumber mill we can use our raw wood and buy refined homestead wood with it. Once more, everything will be exactly the same. You will have the exact 3 tabs. The first one will be the items you can exchange. The second tab will be the trade upgrades that we explained. And then we again have the black market tab. Same thing, every time you buy, the price will increase a little. And it will be only limited to 300 exchanges per week. The only thing that is different with the wood and metal is that the exchange limit per item is 250. So if you hover on any of them, you will see it says you can buy 250 more per account per week. This will go for the wood, and the same will apply for metal. It will also have 250 per item per week. Now that we explained all the refined materials in details, we can talk about the chart of the homestead. As I said, this item will be needed for tons of decorations, but it will also be needed to craft something called the Gift of Embracing Refuge, which is needed to craft the new legendary spear. You can buy this item from Deft Lahar in your homestead, which you will find right beside your waypoint. When you talk to him, just select this option and then go to the last tab where it says Legendary Components. And from here you can buy the chart of homestead. Each one will cost 5 of each of the refined types, so 5 refined homestead fiber, 5 wood and 5 metal, and it will also cost some karma. And before you can do that, you must have of course already unlocked your homestead, which you can do by doing chapter 3 Home Sweet Home in the Genseer Wild story. And you must also have unlocked the Adept Handiwork Crafting, which is the last mastery in home. And of course, you can just buy the charts directly from the trading post, but if you will do so, expect the cost to be higher than if you will buy from the vendor. And that will be especially the case if you have the trade efficiency upgrades, because this will reduce the cost significantly, which will make it much cheaper to buy the chart of the homestead from here from the vendor instead of the trading post. Now here are some tips to maximize your efficiency, save a lot of gold, and potentially even make some profit from these items. The first one is to always check the prices of these materials on the trading post before you make any exchanges. And for that, I would highly recommend using the wiki. It will give you some tables that will show you the exact price for exchanging any of these items to get the refined materials. And that will include whether you have the trade efficiency upgrades or not, whether you have it only one tier or both tiers. I will leave these wiki links in the description below, so make sure to check them out. The second tip is to invest in the upgrades, as they will make these vendors much better, especially the trade efficiency, which I would personally consider a must. That's especially the case because the cost to get these upgrades is not exactly extremely hard to get. And the last tip is that you can actually use your refined materials to make some profit from your raw materials. Because sometimes using these materials and then buying the refined items with them and then using these items to buy the chart of the homestead, which you can then sell on the trading post, can be in some cases more profitable than selling the raw items directly. That is especially the case if you bought as a trade efficiency upgrades, as this will significantly reduce the cost. And if you will go this route, then I would highly recommend that you gather everything on your way as you play the game normally, and of course make sure you have some glyphs in your gathering tools. I have another guide that explains this whole process in details. I will also leave it in the description below. If you found this guide helpful, please don't forget to give this video a like and subscribe to the channel to see more guides for Guild Wars 2. And if you have any questions, just drop it in the comments below and I will get back to you as soon as I can. Thank you very much and I will see you in the next guide.